Greetings, my brothers and my sisters. We thank God for an opportunity to come with you in our initial program on this YouTube channel. We call our particular channel the Oneness Plan, for we live in a particular dispensation where many have fallen prey to the belief that oneness, what the society calls marriage, is no longer necessary and pertinent in this particular dispensation. We sincerely believe nothing could be further from the truth. Let us start out by sharing the current situation in this postmodern era. Frankly, men and women are losing their belief and faith in the institution of marriage. As a matter of fact, the emergent thought process destroys all the value and benefits associated with marriage and its correlating desire. We'll show that the metrics associated with marriage validate that this institution has lost its luster. And while many believe that we should embrace it in this postmodern era, we vehemently disagree with this supposition. All of the success models that one can study and research would indicate that the diminishing quantifiable value of whatever type of relationship, traditional, modern, or hybrid, is also failing. As an alternative, we sincerely believe that we should be instead investigating and researching alternative plans and pathways to get back to the original design we call oneness. When you think about this postmodern era, just to give an idea of what some agree is this particular era, you could say this particular era began somewhere in the mid to late 70s throughout today, where there is a significant shift on how we as individuals look at life and look at the patterns that determine our lives. So this is the era we're speaking of, that something has changed. Something happened dramatically to bring us to where we are today. If you look at where we've moved to, we moved from a belief in God, where a higher level of people, or higher number of people, believe that God indeed was the center. But as we move through this particular 21st century, we know that there is what come to be referred to as no absolute true belief. And that because of that, all of us have an opportunity to find truth and to define it however we may desire it to be. And because of that, we find ourselves subjected to and exposed to multiple doctrines, multiple beliefs as to what can constitute the truth. As it relates to this particular subject matter, the postmodernist view of family has changed tremendously. The family at one time was believed to be a nuclear incubator, nurturing growth and development, led by a nuclear family of a husband and a wife who were able to make available to the offspring all of the inventories of life necessary to be successful. But in this postmodern era, we see an increase in single parents, cohabitation without the institution of marriage, gay marriage, or a whole multitude of reconstituted hybrid families environment with an increasing level of ethnic diversity by interracial marriages of all kinds. This is a fluidity and uncertainty that we see in this postmodern era, where there is no longer any one single definition that comprises the meaning of family. Given that, postmodernists reject any concept or idea that the nuclear family is the only genuine family type. As a matter of fact, diversity is presented and proposed to be something good that would allow men and women to choose their own paths, believing that everybody should have their own right to determine what anyone may call a family. While that sounds good, it creates many challenges. For example, we see an increasingly evolving model of the single mother. And while we admire and we believe that mothers have done a great job and have made great contributions, we also think, feel, and believe that it's not necessarily the best model. Again, based on statistics readily available to any of us, we can go and see, as the increase of single parenthood and single mothers have increased, so have many of the correlating shortcomings of children born and bred in such households. Don't get it wrong, we're not coming and saying that it's not something that's been good, but it's just a fact of the matter. Will we believe that today, that only a small percentage, a very small percentage of today's family represent or looks anywhere similar to what it looked like in the 1950s? As a matter of fact, you will see on some of the information that we'll share today that we're nowhere look nothing like it looked like in those particular days. We have more blending, and we know there's nothing wrong with blended families, as we have one ourselves. But when we begin to get a better understanding of the impact such environments have on our offspring, perhaps we may give additional consideration to oneness. When you look at marriages and what's happened since the 1970s, as we indicated, you can see from this particular chart how the level of marriage rate has steadily declined since 1970. And you can see how the divorce rate also has inclined, leveled out, and as a matter of fact, moderated somewhat over the last 2 or 3 years. But the marriage rate itself has dropped from 76 all the way down to a little over 32. That's not a good thing. Over the course of that time, we've also witnessed in general a group of young people that appear to have more rights and freedoms than we could have ever imagined when we were growing up, yet at the same time, they seem more lost than ever before. As a matter of fact, when you look at black women specifically, they actually at one time had a very high marriage rate, higher even than white women. But something began to happen back in the 1970s. And then we began to see that the percent of black women who had not been married continued to increase. The trend holds true for all women, but particularly for black women. The purpose of this particular presentation is not to go into the details on what may have caused that. That's something for a later date. The effort here is simply to lay the foundation for this particular YouTube channel. We look at the fact that we have today another interesting piece of data, that there are more black males enrolled in colleges than ever before. And at the same time, we see an slight increase in the number of black males that are also imprisoned. We see that enrollment in general is on an upward trend. So today, more than ever before, we have a higher number of black males and females being educated at the highest levels. Yet we have not been able to maintain the same trend when it comes to being married, even first-time marriages, and especially for our females. And some of that is indeed based on some of the incarceration levels that black males face today. Look at the marital status today of African Americans, all then men and women, and all of America. As you can see, all of America is less than 50%. You can see the numbers of divorces, those separated, and those who have never been married. This should be alarming to anyone and everyone, because as we move forward as a society, the longer we are unable to achieve marriage and have successful marriages, the more likely it will be that we'll have unstable and disruptive, chaotic communities. There must be a plan proactively put in place, and we believe that plan is simply going back to the foundation of oneness. Now, when you begin to look at those percent of marriages that consider themselves happy, this is an interesting graph, because it shows that more than 50% of those who are married, they believe that they're happy. In a way, that should be shameful, that the numbers are so low. Yet perhaps it gives us hope that with this 50% group, we can be a model and we can be an example for others, that they may have a desire as well to see oneness come back into vogue. We also see here that even when we're married, there's a tremendous chance that we may indeed be divorced. And there's a tremendous indeed for separation, even if you're married or just living together or whatever. And as you look on this particular chart, you see this increase in the percent chance of divorce. It increases over time. The yellow line, of course, representing the 2000s, and you can see what that trend line is all about. It doesn't matter the number of partners, except for a slight dip in the 4 to 5, the trend line continues up. We like to propose that we believe oneness continues to be the route and the way we should go. We're hopeful that you will join us as we take this journey of oneness. We promise that we'll bring programs and subject matter that will challenge you, but at the same time, we believe will give you an opportunity to also bring oneness into your life and for you to see it as a reality. We know and understand we live in a world based on assimilation and accommodation. But even with that, we believe that with focus and determination, we can turn oneness back into the plan and the focus we believe God ordained from the beginning. As you look at this particular chart here, it shows that out of all the factors that even contribute to another area that we're greatly concerned about, teenage pregnancy, the number one area, or number one concern, is family structure. And we're defining that again as oneness and in marriage. And that the more intact, the more stable that family structure is, the greater the possibility that teenage pregnancy will not occur. You also see a lack of education, alcohol. Interestingly enough, even in an intact family, even though a child may be exposed to abuse, poverty, and many other areas, it's not as impactful as just having a family structure in place. Even though a father may have been an alcoholic or a mother may have been alcoholic, may have been even abusive, by having both there and being able to see those parents come back to agreement after disagreement is something that helps a child develop their mind and have more balance in the process. We believe that if you look at the impact of gay marriage and the mindset of America, and this is not bashing or this is not hating, we're just sharing data as researchers. But you can see today, now more than ever, especially with the passage right of same-sex marriages, that the mindset is that more and more people are beginning to support gay marriage. We're not necessarily at all in belief that is a positive trend. Think about it for a moment. If we were all gay, how would we be here? Will we come together strictly for procreation? Will we reduce ourselves to that type of environment? We don't believe that that particular marriage hookup is a way to improve the challenges that we face in our communities and in society today. We want to invite you on a journey. We want to invite you on this process that we believe is the full approach that we'll be reinforcing over the course of our channel. We believe, first of all, in prayer and meditation. We believe that you should always have a prayer on your heart, have a song on your heart, thinking in a positive manner, thinking on good things. And you should pray in the morning, in the noon, in the evening. You should pray consistently. Pray with your spouse. Pray with your family. Pray on your own. Continue to study and do research. Meditate. Do it without ceasing. Use your time and use it selfishly. Seek the truth. Capture revelation when the Creator speaks to your heart, your mind, and your spirit. Write it down for all to see. Your young ones, your older ones, your friends, your neighbors, and those that you don't know, and share it. Give it away. Share it cheerfully. Share it the way that you think is best. Get to a point to where you think on balance, where you're not so dogmatic and demonstrative that you may refuse to give consideration to the concept of oneness. Above all, seek peace, not victory. When you're sharing with others, seek peace. What does it gain us to attempt to convince someone how we may see a particular situation if in the end we destroy their perspectives or we destroy their confidence in the process of oneness? It's our hope that as we go through this journey together, you will grow in your desire for oneness, and then how oneness is manifested in your life. For we know that in the end, it's God's plan for us to live a life based on oneness. Until we come again with our next message, we wish you well, peace, love, and understanding. We ask that if you will like this video, if you will subscribe to the channel and share it with others. There's a lot of great information that will be forthcoming. God bless you.